When you start your business, no one ever prepares you for what's in store. So finding someone else who just gets it is sometimes the thing that can keep you pushing toward that big business goal.
We're turning our Zoom coffee chats into a weekly, unfiltered podcast for online business owners. They were so good, we always wanted to record them and repurpose them for content anyways. And that's on being a social media manager.
I'm Jessica Sheehy.
And I'm Madeleine Digan, and this is
#managed. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of #managed. Hey Madeleine, how's it going? How was your weekend?
I'm good. I'm trying to think. I've been trying to think about my weekend because we're currently recording on a Friday. Normally, we record on a Wednesday. My weekend was good. I think it will come to me and I'll have these stories that I'm pulling from. But overall, I would say my weekend was good. My week was good. But what about you? How was your weekend? How was your week?
Yeah, mine was great as well. My weekend was a little hectic. I don't know if I shared on the podcast last week or if we talked about it in our planning meeting, but we actually had to attend two weddings on Friday, one on
That's
Friday and one on
right.
Saturday. Oh my gosh, I would not recommend that for other people. It was so much, but it was so fun, and it was, like, Friday was a friend wedding, and Saturday was, like, a family wedding, but it was, like, a good mix of, like, a little bit of everything that you love at weddings, and I feel like the both weddings were two completely different vibes, but both, really, like, fun nights, and so, yeah, it was good, but I still feel like I'm very tired from that, especially since, like Madeline mentioned, we're recording on a Friday, so this is probably, like, our quickest, like, turnaround ever for an episode, which is kinda cool, like, timing-wise. I feel like we're kinda, like, we're, like, up on the, like, current things that are happening, but right after so on Monday, I flew for a photo shoot that we had for like, on Monday and on Wednesday for a client, so I just feel like it's just been, like, go, go, go for the past week, so I am so excited for my, like, couch potato, like, weekend of, like, doing absolutely nothing because 'cause I'm like, I have, like, deserved it so bad. But no, other than that, it was a good, busy, fulfilling week.
I also meant to ask you because I didn't ask you this last week and I meant to, but tell the
Mhm.
audience and me, how are you liking solid
Yeah.
core?
So I really like it, and I have to say, like, I struggled a lot, but it was, like, probably one of the best, like definitely is one of the best, like, core workouts I've ever done,
Yeah.
and it was just, like, an intro class, so I am, like, holy moly, getting into, like, the real thing is gonna be kinda crazy, and so I'm, like, moving in, like, 1.5, like, 2 weeks from now, so I'm like, I haven't really, like, committed to, like, going on a regular schedule, but I definitely will, like, once we're all moved and everything. But I have to say, I think I'm, like, a class girl now, like, don't I don't know, I'm, like, coming to your side.
I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh. I seriously, I
Yeah,
love
but
that
yeah,
so
it
much.
was and I also wanna say too, like, I have only done, like, a few classes, like, like, Pilates classes at this moment, but, like, wow, when I, like, always hear from girls who are like, "Pilates has, like, made me stronger," like, I'm like, I'm not trying to be dramatic, but, like, I feel stronger, like,
Mhm.
only with, like, a couple of sessions, so I'm excited to kind of, like, really keep that up, because I feel like it was like, it pushed you to, like, the right limit, but you weren't, like, overly, like, exerting yourself, like, in certain workout classes that I'm just really have like, I'm not really, like, an Orange Theory or, like, that kind of, like, workout
Same.
style.
Mhm.
So, yeah. So,
N
yeah, I liked it.
and I really like that I know every solid core gym. It's not really a gym though. Every facility is different, like their
Mhm.
coaches, their
Yeah,
you know. But what I found, I've loved
yeah.
every single one because while yes, they're like air quote yelling at you to like keep going, push through, they really aren't like they like remind you where it's like it's okay, like take breaks and stuff. And I know
Mhm.
that I keep talking about
Yep.
cycle syncing. And actually, so this didn't happen this weekend, but I took a yoga class this week. And sorry if this is TMI for our like few male male listeners, but because I did share on my stories too, where it's like I was on my period this week and I've just started to notice where I don't like to do intense workouts when I'm on my period. So like I did like
Yeah.
a light yoga class, and the instructor and I, we were talking about this and just doing what your body needs. So anyway, the point of all that is I love that the
Mhm.
coaches are pushing you, but also not being hard on you. So anyways, should we get
Yeah.
into our actual
Yeah.
reports
No,
of
I
the week?
agree.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, let's go. Do you wanna start with yours or do you want me to go with mine?
I can go with mine. Okay. So, what I
Okay.
am reading is I'm still reading Husbands and Lovers. I'm eating This was hard for me this week because I feel like I currently don't have any hyperfixations, which is weird. So if anybody does wants to throw some out there, I'm looking for some. But I put bagels because I feel like if I had to pick a
Ooh, yeah.
hyperfixation this week, it was probably that. Then I'm playing. So I watched two things this past weekend. So the Simone Biles Rising. Oh my gosh, so good. I cannot wait to see
Mhm.
the GOAT in the Olympics. Believe it's Sunday that they're doing it. And then we also watched
Yeah.
Young Woman and the Sea, and it's on Disney Plus. That was interesting. That was about the first woman who swam. I'm gonna butcher this. It was like from New York to England. So something canal. But
Okay.
I'll put it in the newsletter, but it was so good. And so, which leads me into what I'm obsessing over. I'm clearly obsessing over the Olympics. I love the Olympics. I love the storylines. Like, I love hearing like they were in the pool when they were 3 years old. Like, I love those good, like, yes,
Mhm.
they did it. They did it. Um,
Yeah.
so anyways,
Yeah.
I'm super excited about that. Then I'm recommending Necessary. Okay, so you know the brand Necessary? I don't know if I'm saying it right,
Yeah.
but okay,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it has like lotions and so it's not makeup or anything.
Yes.
But
Yep.
their soap,
Yeah.
their soap and more specifically the olibanum and vanilla. Pretty much it's vanilla, but it is
Mhm.
I just got it. I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed. So I guess that maybe also should have been my
Mhm.
obsessed, but I am highly recommending that. And then I'm treating myself to I think I'm gonna treat myself to a coffee, but at a new coffee shop. So I will keep you posted.
Ooh, yeah. Ooh, I
Okay.
like that. I like that. Oh, all good things. I feel like every time I hear, like, Madeline's report, I'm like, "Okay, I'm doing this, I'm trying this, I'm watching this." So,
Same with
I
yours.
hope you
Yes,
guys
same
are
with yours.
too who are listening. Yeah. So, okay, I'll run through my report for this week.
Mhm.
So, I finished The Housemaid is Watching. Really, really good. Really, really good. I have a feeling that might be like the end to kind of like the Housemaid series. I don't know. That's my speculation based off of how it ended. I could always see there being like another book if you read this one, then you'll kind of know what I mean by that. But really, really good, really, really good book. The next book that I want to read is the last. No, I can't remember if it's the last Mrs. Parrish or the next Mrs.
It's
Parrish
the last. It's
because it's
last.
like
It's
it's the
so
last.
good.
Okay,
It's
okay.
so good. It is so good.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna read that. For eating, I was in like Tampa for the week for the photo shoot that I mentioned earlier, and I am just super biased that I think Publix has the best pub sub
Mm.
all the time. If you're going to the beach, pub sub. If you're like going on the boat, pub sub. Like it's just my go-to. But I saw this on TikTok and I ordered a pub sub salad, which I don't even know if you call it a pub sub salad, but it's basically everything that you would get on your sub chopped up and then like thrown on top of lettuce and like in like a really big like salad container, because I think the best salads are like in the big containers.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
if you know, you know, like I don't need a little salad. So that was like a really, really fun hack. And I have to say, the employee who worked there, they're always super sweet at Publix, but they were like, "You saw this on TikTok." And I said, "Yes." And the video I saw has millions of views. So I have a feeling you're going to be making a lot of these
Yeah.
in the future. Um, so I thought that that was so funny. Under playing, I haven't really been like watching or consuming a lot of content, which I feel like will definitely change with the Olympics kicking off for sure. But I've been playing, and honestly, I think I get so behind in my podcasts that I like subscribe to. And so currently, I'm like playing catch up with the Work Party podcast. It's by like the CEOs of Create and Cultivate. Jacqueline Johnson is one, and I believe Marina, I can't remember her last name, and I don't want to guess and say something completely outlandish, but I really like the Work Party like podcast. I think they give like, you know, I'm biased. I think Madeline and I give like really like actionable like steps and things, and like we really don't hold back. And I would say the same for this podcast. I think that they give like real content versus like fluff. So they're like, it's really similar to hashtag manage in that way. um for obsessing over, this is going to be so niche. And I will definitely share these uh, videos with Madeline so she can pop them into the newsletter. And I'm sure she like wants to see them as well. But I am obsessing over companies whose TikTok strategy is employee focused. And so there is one TikTok account in particular that is so random, but I love it. They are actually a Chevy dealership, and they do like, you know, think like The Office, how that show is produced and how it's always cutting to like the talking heads of the office members. They do this for their content, and it's them, it's their like employees and everything. I just think it's such a good content strategy
That
for
is
something
awesome.
that is a relatively boring social media. Um, so I think it's so funny. I will share the video with Madeline so we can include that in. But that one I think is just hilarious. For recommending, I honestly felt like I didn't really have much to throw into this one. So on Wednesday, as part of our photo shoot with the client, we did a hot yoga class. And I have actually never done a hot yoga class in my life, which is crazy to me. I've only ever done like a regular like yoga like flow. I'm sure there's a much more technical term for that. But I really liked the hot yoga class. Like I felt like that was everything I needed to like kind of like wake up in the morning. So that was perfect. So I'm like getting into like more of like a class routine. I don't know. I feel like I've really like changed over the last couple of months in that regard. And then for treating, I hope I'm saying this name right, but I have been loving the brand. I think it's Van Leeuwen. It's Van Leeuwen. I could be completely pronouncing that wrong, but it's ice cream, and you can buy it like in Publix. I think you can buy it in like Whole Foods. Like in New York City, they have like actual like ice cream shops that you can go into, and kind of in the area that we live in Southern Connecticut, they do as well. But their ice cream is so, so good. And I think for like a dairy free ice cream, it's probably the best I've ever tasted in my life. They have a dairy free fudge brownie, and
Ooh.
it is so good. Like the best vegan ice cream I've ever had. So that is what I'm treating myself with. And that's my weekly report.
Yeah, that was good. I am definitely going to have to check out that ice cream and try the pub sub salad. I've not seen that,
Yeah.
but now I'm excited. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's really good. So, yeah, it all good things.
Oh wait,
So,
and I
yeah, that's
also
our weekly
oh sorry. Okay, wait, one other thing I want to add though. The employee TikTok that I will be excited to see though and watch because I also love when companies do that because it makes me feel like I want to work for the company. Like if they do it right, and that is part of their strategy of like trying to get new people to work for them. Like I feel like that is the best way you can showcase
Mhm.
your company culture. But yes, okay. That is the weekly report.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
get into the water cooler. So, this week's water cooler says, do any other social media managers make newsletters? I want to start doing this, but I'm not sure what the best way to do it is. I am familiar with MailChimp, but are there other ways? Well, you've come to the right place because, yes, there's two really good newsletters that I'm aware of. One being the Social Club, brought to you by Hashtag Managed, and another, the Monday Buzz, brought to you by the Buzzing Blonde. But I love newsletters. I'm in my 30s now, and I feel like email's where it's at. Email, obviously, yes, social, like, I'm going to be on all the social platforms, but newsletters, I think in my 20s, I was kind of like, because again, you're getting the emails from Anthropology on all the sales and Madewell, or clearly I'm speaking for myself, but that was what
Mhm.
and is what my inbox is still loaded with. But I've
Mhm.
also maybe I haven't shared this with the podcast with you guys, but a newsletter that I'm obsessed with, and I have shared it with Jessica and Harmony, and I'll be sure to link it in this week's newsletter as well. But Pamela Anderson's newsletter is so beautiful. She sends it out every Monday, and she is a poet. I'm telling you, like, she just speaks to your soul. But so to answer my answer to this question is yes, you can absolutely have social media managers, I think, should have email newsletters because we know we don't own our social media. And so by having the
Mhm.
newsletter, you're going to be able to communicate not only your services, but also connect with your audience, I believe, on a deeper level. And I've used MailChimp. I use MailChimp for the boutique. I use Flowdesk personally, and I know Jessica does as well. But I feel like I've also tried so
Mhm.
many others, but those are the two that I prefer. But there are so many. Like
Yeah.
if your website is on Squarespace, I know you can do campaigns that way.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, what would you say, Jessica?
Yeah. Yeah, I would definitely agree, like, to Madeline's point as well, like, we love Flowdesk at Social Savvy, so we use it for, like, our obviously, social club is on there, subscribe if you haven't, and we use it for other emails that we send, and depending on the I think well, I think Flowdesk and Mailchimp are the 2 best platforms to start learning,
Mm,
like, all about email marketing and sending newsletters and doing one for yourself, doing one for, like, your first client who you wanna offer email marketing to. I think that's a great platform to start with, and then I think as you kind of, like, build up and you wanna become more, like, in depth in your email marketing or do some other things, that's probably the one email tool that for clients coming in, I always want to kind of organize the project within Asana because we use Asana. I always want to use Later for scheduling because we use Later for scheduling. If they have Later or if they don't have Later, then we'll add them to like our Later plan. If they do have Later, then we'll log in. If they don't have Later, they have another tool, then we'll just suggest that they cancel that tool and come over to Later. But for email marketing, I actually think it's pretty easy to determine which tool works best for the client. So, for example, a few of the other tools that we use for some of our email clients is the first one would be Klaviyo, which is a Shopify email app partner, whatever we want to call it specifically, but it talks so beautifully with an e-commerce store. So we have a client who sells only a couple of products online, but we can easily like integrate that into emails. We can do like automated sequences. For her business, we're actually creating a ton of automated sequences. So it's like the best platform to kind of handle all of that tech, which is really great. So I think starting with Flowdesk and email just make the most sense. And I think to Madeleine's point, like, and I've read Pamela's newsletter, it's so, so good. So definitely go subscribe to that one and just read her content. Like, you wouldn't expect it to be so,
No.
so great and so well written. And it's so refreshing to read someone's content who is a great natural writer. And I think that's like Pamela to a T. But if you're looking to get into email marketing, go go look at newsletters and don't go look at other social media managers newsletters. Don't go look at like other people in the online industry. Go look at your favorite brands. They could be selling clothes, makeup, furniture, like they could be like a local restaurant or coffee shop or co-working space. Like it could be anything. Just sign up for those newsletters and see like what people are doing. And if all else fails and you're really like, I need inspiration, like I want to write emails, go to reallygoodemails.com. You can access their database for free. If you want to get more technical with like looking at like all of their emails, I do think they have a paid version, but they do have a free version where you can kind of pop in, see brands that do really awesome emails for like, abandoned cart if it's e-commerce, or like a welcome email or like a coupon email. So that would be like my final suggestion. But yeah, in summation, social media managers can make newsletters, and I think we're pretty good at it.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that was such good advice about not looking at other social media managers' newsletters, because if I'm being honest, some of the other social media manager newsletters that I do get in my inbox, and it's obviously I'm not saying they aren't good, but I can tell like they haven't. I feel as if they have not looked at other branding, because I don't know. Humbly, I don't know if that is that even a word, but humbly, I do think newsletters are Jessica and I's strong suit. And when I'm creating the social club, I Anthropology, Madewell, um, Pamela.
Mhm.
There's obviously a few that I really enjoy, but Anthropology is just, I mean, if you aren't subscribed to those, like if you don't shop
Yeah.
at Anthro, what are you even doing? No, I'm joking. But their marketing to a T, like, is just
Mhm.
the creme de la creme.
Yeah.
And somewhere
Yeah.
else that I like to go for inspiration is Pinterest. Like, I will just type in,
Mhm.
um, like, sale email design, and oftentimes
Mhm.
Anthropology's emails do come up, and I think that's funny. But that also might
Yeah.
be my Pinterest algorithm telling me, like, "Yeah, we see you
Right.
creeping on Anthropology 24/7." So,
Mhm. Yeah. Yep. Yep, the algorithm is algorithming.
yeah. Okay. Now, should we go on to On My Feed? I'm really excited for On My Feed. You guys know, like, On My Feed is my
Mhm.
favorite segment personally, but today,
Mhm.
because when I saw Jessica put in what's on her feed as she's about to share, I was like, wait, what? So you kick it off.
Okay, so what is on my feed and it's taking over my feed is the Lily Pulitzer rebrand. And I think the biggest piece of this rebrand is the logo has completely changed from the like iconic handwritten, you could recognize it anywhere. I was actually randomly driving. Actually, last weekend I was going from wedding to wedding. We were driving on the interstate and we passed by like an area that is like full of like corporate offices. And there was some, like, I don't think it was Lily Pulitzer's corporate office, but maybe it was like the holding company or, like whoever like owns them. Because I saw on the parking garage, like they had all these logos and I didn't recognize half of them because they were all like consultant companies, and I recognized the, like, handwritten, like, Lily Pulitzer, and I was like, "Lily Pulitzer is there?" But anyway, it's so recognizable, like, you like, think like, if someone were to describe it to me, I would just think of the loops of the letters, and it's just so, like, beautifully written. So, I think the thing that is so interesting to me with these brands rebranding is that I don't really know if they're actually, I'm gonna just go out on a limb and say I don't think that they are listening to their audience. Like, they are taking away such key components of the brand that people love, and they are changing them into something completely different. And I think it's so fascinating, and this has happened for years and years, right? Social media has been around for a while, but I think now we live in a time where people are even more vocal than they ever have been about rebrands. And I want to say too, and I don't want to go so much into this topic because I think this topic is so heavy and I just don't want to get super into it. But I think with, cancel culture, right? So many people taking a stand and giving their opinion. I honestly think we're like in a new phase or era of cancel culture where people are still coming up and revolting. I'm using that word so loosely because we're talking about Instagram comments about like Lily Pulitzer's logo, but they're sharing their feedback and their opinions, and the brands are just sticking to like those decisions. Because too, I mean, Madeline and I both know from like our backgrounds, but they probably spent like a very pretty penny on that new logo, which is, I mean, it's always like incredible to me what these brands spend on these logos. And even more interesting, like another thing that is always fascinating to me as well, is it's always like the same branding or ad agencies. Like there's only like a few like really big ones, and they're doing logos for like literally every brand. I mean, you can kind of tell in certain instances when logos are like super similar. It's
Mhm.
because it was created by the exact same team. Um, so I just think it's super interesting. I think too, regardless if you're like a fan of, like, Lily Pulitzer or not, if you've ever owned anything, if not, like, you still know the brand. I'm sure in your head right now, you are picturing the prints, the tropical colors, the vibes, the cuts of the dresses, whether you've, like, worn them or not. Like, you have probably seen it in a mall that you've walked by, you've seen someone wearing it. If you've gone to, like, a destination, like, where Madeline is in Charleston, if you've gone to, like, a West Palm Beach in Florida, like everyone who's probably in the airport is sporting it. And it's just a very like common brand. So I think it's interesting. And the other thing as well that I wanted to say about this too, and see if you had anything to add to it, Madeline, is I feel like the rebrand has honestly been around for a few months because when I was going to put it in our show notes for recording, I realized that they actually rebranded a couple of months ago. And so I think it's interesting that it almost seems like a really like silent rollout. I mean, a new logo is huge, but it interesting approach for their rebrand, if you will.
Well, and that's why I was when you type that in there, I was like, "Wait, what?" Because there is a Lily Pulitzer store in Charleston, and it's
Mhm.
not necessarily like on King Street. I can't remember the name of the actual shop, but it is known to be the Lily Pulitzer shop, but there's like another it's like Lily's underneath it, and I walk past it all the time, and it had the logo has not changed. That is something I feel I would have noticed. So to me, when you roll
Mhm.
out a logo, when you roll out a rebrand, you need to make sure and wait, watch. I'm gonna go home and maybe it will have changed. But
They're changing the sign like right
but I'm
in this moment.
I'm telling you guys, like I to me, I'm like, you need to make sure that it's like and because since I've been with a company and I've walked through a rebrand. I've rebranded myself and like even
Mhm.
my rebrand has been very slowly. So again, I there's different ways you can do a rebranding and I feel like that needs to be another episode in itself, honestly. I feel like we've had some episodes here talking about rebranding, but maybe one where it's like, how do you know when it's time to rebrand? And, you know,
Yeah. Yeah,
oftentimes
like
something.
steps to take. Yeah.
Yeah. And because I feel like big companies like this who have been around for since the 50s, where I feel like the average consumer, if you're not in marketing, if you're not in advertising, you don't really realize that actually a lot of big companies do rebrand a lot, kind of. And but it's always very subtly, very, like, sometimes their logo is just
Mhm.
tweaked and now I want to pull up a bunch of
Yeah.
examples, but I know we don't have time. But what I will say, because I want to grade this, I feel like I need to chew on this and digest this, and then I
Mhm.
need to come back next week to give my grade, what I'm gonna grade Lily, because I think right now if I were to grade it, I'd be very harsh, because if I'm being honest, I don't like it. Like,
Mhm.
Lily's signature was
Yeah.
so iconic, and I don't know. I can kinda see where they were going with it. But if I'm
Mhm.
also from Indiana, and we have Eli Lilly, which is a farm, like, medical company, and it's giving me Eli Lilly. Honestly, the new one is kind of giving me Eli
Mm.
Lilly
Interesting.
vibes in a weird. It's not, but like
That's funny.
it
Yeah.
is. So,
Yeah. Ooh,
do
that's
you
interesting.
do you have a rating on it, or do you want to, like, are you gonna wait till next week?
Yeah, let me sit on it. Let me look at, like, even more assets, but I don't like it from the logo standpoint, and
Right.
I think just the font that was used is completely different. I mean, it's going for a completely different brand vibe
It's
entirely. So, yeah, okay, let's come back with our, like, grading.
yes.
Yeah, our
Okay.
grades for it.
Okay, perfect. Okay. So then on my feed, my I kind of hinted at this in our stories this past week. But it was the Love Shack
Mhm.
Fancy and Stanley collaboration. And you guys, I thought I
Yeah.
was done with Stanley. Like, not in a, like, again, not in the cancel culture way. I was just like, "Oh, like, is it actually the best um water bottle out there?" But I love Love Shack. I can't, like, I
Mhm.
don't wear any of the Love Shack fancy clothes, but, like, it's a vibe, I like it. Like, I like their accessories. So, again, I feel like a water bottle, I love this collaboration, because to me, like, your water bottle is like your phone case, and it's a part of your identity. So, I kind of love
Mhm.
it. I love it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if I'm
No, I love this one too.
and also, like, in, um our stories, I did a poll, and I think one of the answers was, or no, somebody said how many, oh, no, sorry, I'm getting confused. I think this might have been in my personal, see, I'm like, I know multiple people listening to this right now relate, because it's like, which account did I post it to? I forget, but
Yep.
somebody asked me, or us, I'm not sure, how many collaborations we think Love Shack Fancy will have for the remainder of this year. And I think it's funny, because Love Shack Fancy really does do so many collaborations, but honestly, I think it's so
Mhm.
smart of them. I think that is probably, if we were to actually probably talk to their marketing people, they would probably tell us, like, that's part of their strategy, is like collaboration, because it is a more expensive brand, but I think they want it to be
Mhm.
attainable. So by doing the collaboration with Target,
Yeah.
um I'm trying to remember who else I saw. They
Mhm.
did one with Kendra Scott, and I think Gap. I even
Mhm.
saw Gap. I hadn't seen that one, but I give them A plus. I think it's smart.
Yeah, agreed. Especially because even if even again, I feel like Love Shack Fancy, I would put it right around the same level with Lily Pulitzer. Like you can recognize like both
Mhm.
prints and patterns and the brands just based because they're so strong in what they are. And if you've ever been inside of a Love Shack Fancy store, you just, I mean, wow, talk about an real experience. I mean, their store is merchandised beautifully. And I think it's one of those things that it's so smart that they're collaborating with different companies to one make their products like or make their brand more accessible for
Mhm.
other markets and demographics, but also too like if I see anything super random like on like Amazon or like something that is like somewhat of that print and that just the patterns and of the Love Shack Fancy brand, I'm immediately like, oh, that gives Love Shack Fancy. So I feel like they've really created like and that's like the power of branding that I think like Madeline and I have tried to like share like over and over and over. Like it's the brand without being the brand like so in your face. Like you just know what it is. And that's when it gets really powerful. And that's when you know like okay, you've got something really special with a brand.
Yes. Yes. I don't know how to transition into our topic per se. So I don't even know at this time what
Mhm.
we're titling this one, but
Yep.
it's fine. It's fine. Clearly, we planned here. We actually did. Like, it's what's
Yeah.
funny is we did plan. We like did do some planning around this episode today. But okay, wait. I have the transition. So I went to the Facebook group to ask you guys what you wanted us to talk about this week, and thank you to everybody who voted because I was a little nervous. I thought it was just going to be you, me, and Harmony voting and just deciding. But no, a lot of you
Mhm.
guys did actually vote. And what you guys chose was how to handle rejection, especially cold pitching after a discovery call. So I don't know, Jessica, if you want to start it or if you want me to.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. No, I'll kick us off. So I think for me for me becoming a business owner, rejection was something that even though like I feel like the way we handle rejection is so different from person to person. I really think it goes back to like your like upbringing, like how like adaptable you are in different areas of your life. And so for me, I know this saying is so cliche, and I'm going to say it and you guys are going to roll your eyes and I already know you're going to do it. So we're just going to all do it together, but rejection really is redirection. It is the universe's way. Madeline and I always talk about the universe because it has our back
Mhm.
always. And it's the universe's way of saying this was not the right path for you. This was not your client. This was not your opportunity. It's someone else's. And that's something that is really hard to think about, especially for myself, because I think that sometimes I get a little too passionate. I fixate a little too much, and I'm already like thinking, 6 months down the road of what my life is going to look like with this client or with this project or doing this thing. So that's where, it's really like important to think about, okay, it's really not meant for you. The second part that I always think of as well, which is really hard, especially when you're a business owner, even if you're a solopreneur, and even myself, like I have an awesome team, but I still feel the weight of so many things. And I always remind myself it's not personal. It's not personal. Like business is not personal at all.
Mhm.
What's personal is connecting like with your clients at that point, but in this stage of rejection, during whether you're cold pitching in DMs, whether you're cold emailing, whether you're like going door to door in your town or city, like knocking on doors and talking to business owners, whether you're facing rejection on or during or after a discovery call, it really comes down that it's really not personal. At the end of the day, it's strictly a transactional thing, like back and forth. And so I think keeping in mind that it's redirecting you to something bigger and better. And I know I said that and I know you guys rolled your eyes because I could feel it and it's totally fine. I'm also like rolling my eyes because the statement is so cliche, but I think the best thing to take from that, especially if you feel like you're in phase of life where you feel like you're getting rejection, whether it's from the cold pitches, whether it's from cold DMs, whether it's from, not being able to land or sign any clients on or after a discovery call, I would not take it personally. Just look objectively at what you're doing because it's not you, it's not what you're offering, it's 100% the way you're presenting it and who you're presenting it to that I think is the biggest thing. I think one thing that we could always like think about and kind of like beat ourselves up over are the shoulds, right? Oh, I should have done that. I should have said this. I should have written this better. I should have introduced this. I should have talked about my results more. Like you could drive yourself absolutely insane thinking about all of the shoulds when in the at the end of the day, none of that had anything to do with you. It's 100% with like the person on the other side of the rejection. And so that's one thing to really, really think about. So if you feel like think about it in the sense that it really is redirection and also think about it in the sense of what can you do differently? Like, how can you change up the way you're sending a cold DM? Maybe don't send it in that way. Maybe rewrite it. Maybe if you're local, can you pop in? Can you say hello? Can you introduce yourselves? Can you invite them for coffee? I mean, that's like one thing that I don't know why that's like top of mind for me right now, but coffee chats are always like, people are always like, let's do a coffee chat. Let's do a coffee chat. Like, okay, I don't know about you guys, but to me, a coffee chat is always a way to like politely ask someone to get on a Zoom call and just talk. Whereas, like, if you're local to them or can make it work, like, why don't you actually go grab coffee? Coffee, water, tea, matcha, whatever you consume, like make that personal connection. And all that to say, you don't need to go buy every business owner in your town coffee, but if you feel like things aren't working in the current way you're doing them, just shake it up a little bit. And I think that can really help you kind of get past that rejection phase. What would you add, Madeline, to handling
Well,
rejection?
they're gonna roll their eyes at both of us then today because very like we again, that Jessica and I are both blue. We talk about the universe, like she said. You said don't take it personally. Mine is, I was gonna say, I don't chase, I attract. Like that was a
Mhm.
mindset shift in the beginning. I really had
Yep.
to adapt because otherwise I completely agree with you with what you said about the upbringing too, and just that 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 hit home. What's that trend going around, like that hit in my chest or whatever? I feel like there's a TikTok trend
Mhm.
right now with a sound like that. But yeah, so I would, to add on to what Jessica said, I would say I don't like tell yourself like I don't chase, I attract, because here's the thing, you can't be everyone's social media manager. That was something too in the beginning where
Mhm.
I'd get upset and I'd be like, why? Like you could, like I already had multiple clients and it was just like, that wasn't like, you probably wouldn't have been able to give them your all. So that's another thing to think about if you're need that check of, oh, like bummer, but ask yourself, can you actually be every single salon's social media manager? Can you be every boutique
Mhm.
social media manager? Chances are no. No, especially in your area as well, because that's
Yeah.
something, I don't know if you guys have this. This might be a little tip for you guys, but in my contracts, I really only take like one salon, esthetician, lash artist, so on and so forth, like in a certain radius, because otherwise I'd be competing with myself. That would be weird. Like I
Mhm.
would
Yeah.
literally be
Yeah.
like,
Literally.
I already do kind of copy paste my ideas, but like where it would be very noticeable to that area. So
Mhm.
I have, and then the
Yeah.
last thing I will add to what Jessica said is I actually have a great example of the whole getting coffee. So I ha- this is the first time Jessica's hearing this story too, so I'm excited. So I'm gonna I sometimes it's nice where it really is. I'm just talking to you. I know I'm talking to the masses right now, but it's like you guys are hearing it for the first
Mhm.
time and hearing Jessica's reaction. So, earlier this week, I came up with an idea for the boutique where we have a lot of hair clips. And I'm already thinking about the holidays. And I was like, there's this beautiful salon. I will send you the pictures of it. I will put it in our newsletter too. Because I know they would probably geek out for some free PR as well. But it's just this beautiful salon. And I was like, you know what? I have this idea where I would love it if I'm not a hairstylist, but if I could maybe get one of the stylists to you, like I would present like here are all these like headbands, hair clips, claws, whatever. Can we come up with like a
Mhm.
series where you do the hair, but we use the our accessories? And so I reached out, I
Mhm.
DM'd the salon thinking it was the owner, but again, sometimes you don't know. Are you talking to the owner? Are you talking to the social media manager? So I
Yeah.
just said, I was like, hey, I have this idea. If you don't like it, just completely ignore it. That's fine. Like I don't want this to be one of those cringy
Mhm.
influencer type messages because I'm sure because salons do. Salons and like a lot of beauty professional
Yeah.
services, like you get those. I get those. Like I get those from people. And so I wrote it out, whatever, added in humor, obviously. And they got back to me, and it was
Mhm.
their social media manager. And she's like, I actually love this idea. Like, absolutely. And so I told her, I was like, could we meet up for coffee next week? And she's like, just come into the salon, see. And they had like an event this past
Mhm.
weekend. And she's like, I hope you make it to that too. And I was like, unfortunately, I'm going to be out of town. But yesterday they like showed their swag bags, and I'm like, fingers crossed, like, please save me one because I want one.
Mhm. Yeah,
But
literally.
but my point is like so that like with your cold sometimes make sure if you are cold pitching, be sure to like
Mhm.
not ask chat gpt, like make sure it doesn't sound like ai, make
Right.
sure it sounds like you. And I don't know. If I were to I always, like, write my messages how I would want to receive them. So, like, if an influencer were to reach out to, like,
Yeah.
even the boutique like that, I would have
Mhm.
I have respect for all content creators, but, where it's, like, more like, "Oh, okay, she's got a humorous bone in her body or his body, like, awesome, let's go."
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
hopefully,
Yeah, agree.
that was a good example, and you kinda test it out if you
Yeah.
are somebody who especially because the holidays are gonna be here before we know it, I feel like maybe that should also be an episode we plan here soon because I just know I know Jessica probably is already thinking about it too, like, where in every social media manager's ideal world, like, yeah, we would absolutely have our holiday content planned out in July/August, but that is I can promise you that is not always the
Mhm.
case, like, I'm absolutely not. But
Correct.
we try and get our
Yes.
clients there. So I feel like I needed to hear that when I was first starting out too, because
Mm.
like, it's like, "Oh gosh, we are not where we need to be," but with small
Yeah.
businesses, it's a team of 1, if not a team of 5, which is
Mhm.
it's a lot, but it's not. So,
Right. Yeah, agreed, agreed. Okay, I wanna share one more thing that, we're
yeah,
just gonna share all the things that are gonna make people, like, absolutely roll their eyes, but
yes.
I recently found this because saw it on TikTok and then I listened to the podcast episode, but you might have heard of this, Madeline, and if you guys are listening, hopefully you know what this is as well, but I really like this theory by Mel Robbins.
I love
So
her.
it's
I love
called the
her.
"Let Them" theory.
Mm,
Mhm.
mhm.
Yeah, the "Let Them" theory. So in short, the "Let Them" theory is honestly what it sounds like. It's to allow people to do whatever it is that they want to do. It gives you more control over the situation, gives you more peace in terms of, not having to have that control on your own plate. And it creates just a better relationship with you and the outcome. And I think for someone who really, and I think Madeline and I are similar in this way, right? Like we're very woo, we love the universe, it has our back always. But we're also very like we want to control the narrative and we want to control like different outcomes that can happen. So we're like constantly like going back and forth between like, both theories. I feel like people I know in my life are either one or the other, and I'm both. And I'm
Yeah.
like barely like making it through. I'm just trying to like try both. But I think for me, learning like the let them theory is something that I am trying to get better on. So I'm not going to go into full detail because it's super, super fresh and very raw. But for the client photo shoot that we had this week, there were a lot of things that went wrong by certain parties who were invited. Not our client, but certain parties who were invited. That is all I wanted to say at this moment. And I think for me, in the moment, right, I like to think that I'm really good at thinking on my feet. I think that's personally what helps me as like an entrepreneur. It helps me as a creative social media manager. It helps me on discovery calls if someone throws a question out. Like I think I'm better on my feet than if I prepare so much.
Mhm.
Because then I overthink it and I'm like, taking away that like intentionality behind what I'm gonna say. And so for me in this experience with, what happened a couple of days ago, I'm really trying to lean into the let them theory. Like I'm accepting that what happened happened. Like what can I do to take this and spin it into a positive for myself, for the team, for the client, for just everyone involved? And then how do we just learn like use this as a learning experience? I think that's kind of the other final part for handling rejection. It really is a learning experience. I think every time you get rejected, you learn not why you were rejected, but you learn so many other things about maybe the way you carried yourself on the discovery call, maybe the things that were said, maybe the way you market your business and the kind of clients you're attracting. Like there's so many different things that you can learn. So anyway, I want to leave you guys on the let them theory. I'm slowly working through like really kind of adapting it in my life and also in business. And it's the let them theory by Mel Robbins, and I highly recommend the Mel Robbins podcast if you guys have not listened. You have to listen. Such a great podcast.
Yes, yes. Okay. I'm not even going to add anymore because I think that is such a beautiful note to end this episode on. I will just add if you guys enjoyed this episode, we would greatly appreciate it if you left us a review, and we will catch you next week.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode. If you haven't already, hit that follow button, and if you really love us, be sure to subscribe wherever you are listening from.
And if you want to be one of our online besties, you can shoot us a DM over at #managed on Instagram and let us know what your biggest takeaway was from this episode. Or, you could also share all your deepest, darkest secrets. Kidding. But we mean it when we say you can shoot us a DM. We love building real, authentic relationships with you.